Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, heard Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on PSA.com and the PSA Facebook page. The Great American Collectibles Show is brought to you by PSA and the National Sports Collectors Convention. Tonight's headlines are brought to you by Sports Collectors Daily. For all of your hobby news, features, and more, visit sportscollectorsdaily.com. And now, your hosts, Tom Zappala and John Molori.
JM, my main man, how you doing, brother?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. Hello to everyone. You're listening to and viewing the Great American Collectibles Show. I am Tom Zappala with my one of two co-hosts, JM, John Molori, famous, very famous sports writer, sportscaster, TV personality up in the Boston area.
Man about town, bon vivant, raconteur.
Everything. Yeah. You're listening to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, 590, WCAP up in the Boston area, Facebook Live, YouTube, subscribe, Spotify, Pandora, Alexa. We're all over the place, JM. We are all over the place.
We are. We're actually in Sanskrit and the small corner of the nation of Chad, I believe we are also
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
that's
awesome. A new one. We just got that one this week. So
we have a good show today. We're bringing in a couple of seconds. Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions got a great auction that is ending tonight. So this is a perfect time to get your bids in.
Right.
Although we're taping, everybody knows we tape on Fridays. The show is airing tonight, Wednesday, and the auction ends in a few short hours. But before we got Scott Russell from the Collector Connection is going to join us for a couple of minutes towards the end of the show. But first, our headlines. This is kind of cool, JM. The best of the best among those who had graced a diamond during the first 45 years or so of professional baseball were given the game's highest honor on June 12, 1939, when they became the first members of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Among the gifts baseball's first classes of immortals were given was a Gruen Curvex wristwatch. It was a timepiece given to only the greatest players of all time. Now, one of the Flying Dutchmen, Honus Wagner's, is going on the auction block with Heritage Auction Winter Platinum Catalog Auction, where it is expected to get a six-figure price.
Dude, that is something special.
That's a cool
right
piece.
Yeah.
That's a cool piece.
Yeah.
It is Honus Wagner's personal watch that was given to him on that induction day. Made by Gruen, a Cincinnati-based watchmaker. The timepiece is stamped 14-karat gold filled on the back and carries the all-important inscription presented to Honus Wagner, member of the Hall of Fame Baseball Centennial, 1839 to 1939.
So I wonder who had that, Zap.
Actually, that's a great question. If you want to read the whole article, simply go to sportscollectorsdaily.com, because I kind of edited the article a little bit, but it was given to a private collector had it, and then is giving it to auction. So get
that's
the
great.
Hobby News 24/7.
You did what you're supposed to do. You did a tease to make people go and get the rest of the story.
Correct. You want to go to Sports Collectors Daily to read the rest of the story. That's pretty cool.
It is.
All right, listen, let's bring in Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. I like having Steve on, JM, because Steve is one of the guys that's not afraid to, we'll talk about the auction and the great items in the auction.
Yep.
But he's not afraid to talk about the hobby. And sometimes we dip our toes into kind of like, I don't want to say controversial subjects, but we're not afraid to discuss some of the pros and cons of the hobby. And Steve's always been good enough to jump in with us. Welcome, Steven.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Steve.
Good. Steve, you've got a great auction ending tonight. Give us, when does the auction end? Let's talk about that part of it first.
Okay, so we got one of our best auctions we've ever had. You have to have your bids in by 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight. So if you're interested in the auction, as soon as the show's over, you want to pop right over to cleansweepauctions.com. And we have a lot of great material in the auction. We have the best balanced auction we've ever had. We have lots of old cards, lots of new cards, lots of autographs, lots of memorabilia. We even have comic books. We got a 1940 Superman set with all the high numbers, PSA graded or single lots. I mean, there's just a world of material and many things we've never had before.
JM?
I mean, the names in this auction, Steve, are pretty unbelievable. Can you just get into specifics on what you view maybe as a couple of the highlight items in there? There are more than a couple of highlight items, but just give us a couple things to whet people's appetite.
It took me an hour just to go through some of
that. Dude,
I
was on the first page, and I was 20 minutes on the first page.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Well, the headline lots is a Hank Aaron rookie card, PSA 8. Now, it's not too much to say about that card that people don't know, but of course, a vital card, a key card, one of the best cards you could have, especially in an 8 grade. So that's dollar-wise, the best lot in the auction. And we have a gorgeous 51 Bowman Mantle. That's a PSA 3.5, centered, great image, great white borders. I mean, stunning card. So those are two of the dollar-wise, some of the most valuable cards we have. We have like some cool new cards we've never had before. Like there's a really, really cool card they made of Tim Duncan when he's a rookie, and David Robinson's in the back, and they both signed it. And this
I saw that. Yeah.
It's traded publicly like 3 times in 8 years.
And you have a Maze rookie Bowman too in there, don't you?
Yeah, there's a real nice Maze rookie. That's got a lot of action so far. It's a real nice looking 3.
That's the PSA 3.
Yeah. And then another real highlight of the auction, we got a full run of all the Ruth and Garricks from the 1933 Gowdy set.
I couldn't believe that. I mean, you have a slew of them.
Right.
Yeah, the full stuff. We got them all graded together. The numbers are probably consecutive, but people love that. So they go from 2s to 3.5s. Real nice cards. We got a real nice set that we were breaking up. So we got them graded. They're completely fresh to the hobby. We got there's a Mayo Ed Delahante. We have an E95 Philadelphia Carmel set, all PSA graded.
Very cool. Very cool.
We also have a bunch of unopened stuff that we don't have that as much in our auctions, but we have the 2000 Bowman box with Tom Brady, sealed, and a whole bunch of desirable wax boxes or factory boxes from the last 10 or 15 years.
Steve, I noticed in this auction, and Zap, you can comment on this as well. I mean, there's a really nice mix of vintage and modern in here, and even some players in between. You know what I mean? I mean, it's really a great, varied auction. Was that happenstance, just what you had, or was that part of the design of this particular auction?
I guess a little bit of both. When you run these auctions, it's driven by consignments and what people have and what they sell at a particular time. So we're working through a couple real big collections where these things take a year to sell, and with massive amounts of stuff. And in our auction, we try to put it in the right auction, not just shove everything in one auction,
right?
Just in and out. So we try to be more targeted in our marketing. So we've been working through a wonderful collection of very well picked PSA cards from Peachy stars in the 60s and 70s to Mantles and Koufaxes, and like these cards are really nice for the grades. And this person had over 1,000 cards like that. So
really? I'll tell you what's interesting, Steve, is I don't know if you did it by design, but there are a lot of people. That 51 Bowman Mantle, using that as an example, I have one. I love my card, but a lot of people really, really love that card. And for some people, the PSA 3, they may not be able to afford it. But from your perspective, you also have a PSA 1 in there, don't you?
Yeah, and it's a really nice one. In fact, it's funny. The consigner of that stuff this was another collection we have. He bought all 1s and 2s that are much nicer than their technical grade. So there's a 52 tops Jackie Robinson. There's a 52 tops Eddie Matthews. All cards like that, real key cards in 1s and 2s, where they might have a technical flaw, a tiny scrape on the back, or honestly, sometimes the grade is too tough. But they're like,
go ahead, finish. No, because I agree with you.
I mean, they're real. This guy had a really good eye. He collected these things. These under quote unquote undergraded 1s and 2s of really big cards. So we have about 20 cards like that throughout. And they're really nice looking cards. I'm sure they'll be very popular. But and some of those cards are white hot right now.
But Steve, something, you're making a good point, because if you have a good eye, and most collectors do. If you look at a card and it's graded a PSA 1, for instance, but that card really looks like a 1.5 or a 2, you're going to get more money for that card, aren't you?
Yeah, usually, yeah. I mean, look, there's different customers. Some people just buy the grade. They don't care. If it says 1, it's 1. It says 9, it's 9. It doesn't matter. Then there's people, which is a lot of the hobby, where they really care, especially on the low grades. They can get a big premium when they're nicer. And then the thing with the 1s is, everyone complains about the PSA grades, without getting into trouble, especially lately. But I hate to say this, I'll get these cards and I'll be like, oh my God, these grades are terrible. What'd they do to me? And then you start looking under magnification and everything. 80-90% of the time they're right.
I agree. And I've told this story a million times. When Ellen and I wrote the first book, the T206 collection, Joe Orlando flew out for the book launch, and I had some of my cards displayed. And I mean, I had a PSA Green Wagner. It was graded a 4. When I set that card in, I said, this card's going to come back a 5, 5.5 at the time. Oh, no, a 5 or a 6. And I was like flabbergasted. It came back a 4. So Joe was sitting next to me, and I said, Joe, you got to explain to me. And he pointed out the flaws with his bare eye. And I said, something, I have no argument for that. So you're right.
Yeah. So the thing is, but everyone has their tolerance. So if you take a 51 Bowman Mantle and a 1, some people want the nice front and they don't care about back damage. Other people, it drives them crazy if something's wrong with the back, and if the front's a little messed up, they don't care because they can't handle back damage. Some people don't care about writing on the back, especially if it's not bad. And other people, it drives them nuts. So so it's a little unpredictable, but all things being equal, those cards, there's a big demand for them. And one thing I wish PSA would do, I don't know if they're following you, like this authentic altered thing, which, to be honest with you, they're slapping these more than ever since COVID. I don't know totally why. They ought to give an explanation why, especially on expensive cards. And the market would reflect that. So is it altered because someone erased writing, or is it altered because someone trimmed the card?
So you're saying you're making a recommendation that they give the reason.
On let's say on cards worth $1,000 or more, they're not going to do it on everything, and and obviously we're paying the money for it. But I'll pay. I had a 51 Bowman Mantle I bought a few months ago. I thought it was going to be a 1, and it came back authentic altered. I don't know what the alteration was. At $500 to get it in a holder, be nice to know and what it is. And aside from the customer service point of view, I think that would create its own market, and they would trade. And so one that, if now they think it's trimmed, it would be worth less. If someone erased pencil, and whether it was malicious or not, a lot of people don't care about that, and the card would get a big premium. Depending on what the
sure. Well, Dave Steinberger from PSA. Pretty much tunes in every week with us, and he answers questions. When the show airs, Dave is kind of manning, like myself or JM, manning the comments on the Facebook page. So Dave, if you're in California watching, there's a good question to find out, and maybe you can answer it right now.
There you go. Yeah. Absolutely. Steve, you mentioned the Duncan Robinson item. I want to stay with the NBA because you have a game use swatches, I believe, from Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant as part of this auction. I want you to talk a little bit about that item. It seemed really unique. And then as we acknowledge the second anniversary of Kobe Bryant's passing this past week, just talk about him, his legacy, and where he is in the hobby.
Well, Kobe's Kobe. He's a giant, and then when he died, it just brought it to another level. So people wanted stuff. There's a lot of stuff around of him, especially his cards. There's so many of them. So the better ones get a premium. Other ones have come back down in price, but it's always a great demand for him. His autograph, of course, exploded, and he wasn't, at least on our side of the country, we hardly ever saw his autograph. So he was not a big signer.
Right.
So that stuff is just great. And then the card we have, it's a really cool card. It has a swatch from Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. And
cool.
There's so few cards like that.
Wow.
It's only a 6, but it's a really cool card. So we're excited about that. And we have a bunch of the the good rookie cards and sets of all those guys. And we have 2 Wilt Chamberlain rookie cards that are nice. In the auction. So there's a lot of really good basketball stuff. There's a whole bunch of unopened stuff too. There's an '86 Fleer PSA 8-pack. There's a bunch of good quality material there.
Steve, I know that you're a vintage purist originally from your heart, and I know that you're now picking up ahead of steam with unopened packs. That whole phenomena has really exploded, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing. And what just blows my mind, I was at a show a few weeks ago, and someone had an '87 Topps box wrapped. A wax box, they wanted like $100 for it or something. I'm not exaggerating.
Give them away.
I couldn't even give them away. I get these things in collections, like, listen, you want to take it? No. Any product? No. Because we've got a whole collection. You'd have boxes of this stuff from the 80s, and even like '84 Topps sets and things like that. These things are flying out of my office.
Yeah.
I can't.
Crazy. Absolutely. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I agree. I shake my head too. I have boxes of that stuff up in an attic in my house that just sitting there.
And the unopened stuff, I've been doing shows forever, and I remember being when Jose Canseco's rookie card, the '86 Donruss, ungraded, let's say in 1989 or something, was like $150 card. And I remember I was set up next to someone at a show, it was like '89, and I he had an 86 Donruss wax box. At the time, they were impossible to find. And I had his beautiful 55 Topps K-line, and we traded. So I hope to get this. So I opened up the box. Of course, I didn't get the Conseco. So I never loved unopened stuff after getting burned like that. I'm like, maybe he took it out, maybe he didn't. There's no guarantee. It's a wax box. It doesn't have every card in it.
That is funny.
That soured me on unopened stuff for years. I'm like, oh.
That's awesome.
We had chatting with Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. Steve, there was one thing that really piqued my interest, that 1968 signed Topps poster.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that's a really cool lot. Now, the 68 Topps posters, I don't know if as many people are familiar with them. They're not rare, but they're uncommon. They're big. They're like 30 inches high. They're really cool. So we got a set with about 10 or 15 of them signed, including Mantle and Mays, and they look so awesome with the big size and the big autographs because they got these huge signatures. And that's been a very popular lot. That's one of the it's one of my favorite lots in the auction. Those are great. You see them from time to time.
Very cool.
Not more than one or two. And there's I think there's 10 or 15 signed ones in there. It's a great lot.
Yeah, we mentioned, guys, that Steve has the big names. The Ruths are in there. The Gehrigs are in there. Ty Cobb is also part of this auction. You have the Turkey Red Ty Cobb, and you also have a letter from Ty Cobb in this auction, which I found very interesting, Steve.
Yeah, there's a really interesting Ty Cobb letter. That's a 3-page letter where the content gets a little personal, and he's really nice in this letter. He writes about this guy's dog and how he
was so nice. I didn't think it was Ty Cobb.
Yeah, he's Cobb's a funny guy. Obviously he had his bad sides, and I don't know if people know this. It's a terrible thing, but he saw his mother kill his father walking in as a thing. He stood there and watched that, so you can imagine how it affected him. But Ty Cobb actually raised the money to pay for a children's hospital in Georgia. He wasn't an all bad guy. It's a little complicated, but he definitely had his.
Obviously we've done a lot of research on him, and you're dead on. You're dead on. A lot of people say he was a racist, which. That's the opinion of some people, but then there's a lot he did behind the scenes for indigent ball players, and he was a big proponent of allowing blacks into the majors. So, there's some sketchy gray areas on Cobb.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Yeah, so he's an interesting person. So that we have that, and then now for the Turkey Reds. Now those are also
great card. That's a piece of art. I mean, that's a piece of art.
Well, so we actually have 50 different PSA ones in the auction. We have a third, fourth as individual lots, and those are just some of the best cards. They've gone up in the last few years, but they still seem like utter bargains compared to what things trade for. With T206 commons and threes getting $100.
Crazy money.
The T3 should be 10 times that.
Right. I agree. Right. Totally agree.
They're 100 times, probably 500 times scarcer, and they're more attractive, and it's great. And that's one case where a lot of the time with oversized cards, the holders, they get really heavy. I know if people who collect these things, they'll try to do an oversized set, and they ends up weighing 50 pounds in the holders.
Well, I think that's part of it, because I have talked to collectors about that. A lot of people just store their collections, as I'm sure anybody with cards stores them in nice cases and things like that. That card's it's a little difficult to store, and I think that's part of it. But I agree with you. That is an absolutely magnificent card. It's literally a piece of art. That's the way I look at it.
Well, the thing is, but with the T3s, the PSA holder is actually so perfect because it goes just around the border, so it's more form-fitting. Like some of the R cards in the 30s, the holder's so big, and it's like the card's swimming in there almost, literally and figuratively. But the T3s, they nailed it. So they look great. They look nice in the holder, and it is, you get 100 of them. It's heavy, but they still display well. But that's
absolutely.
That's one of the high points of the auction. Is a huge run at Turkey.
No doubt.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We are chatting with Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. The auction ends tonight. As soon as this show ends, get your bid in. You're listening and viewing the Great American Collectibles Show from the Studio 21 Cafe. But I'm in Florida, and John is up there freezing. So I don't know what to tell you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, mile high. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auction and Collectibles Company. If you're looking to maximize your return on your sports cards and collectibles, look no further. We at Memory Lane Auction House offer you several options to achieve top dollar for your collectibles. Whether you're looking to auction or sell privately, we're the #1 choice with over 17 years in the hobby. Nobody will work harder to achieve your goals. Just call us today at 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE. Or visit us on the web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Go with the best. Go with Memory Lane.
For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the industry leader when it comes to helping you realize the most money for your baseball cards and sports memorabilia. In addition to their unparalleled reputation for honesty and integrity, they reach the largest number of bidders in the business and offer lower sellers' fees, as well as generous cash advances up front on your valuable material. Contact them today at 908-226-9900. That's 908-226-9900 or at robertedwardauction.com.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Well, look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
We are back. And JM, how about telling our viewers and listeners about our good friend James Fiorentino?
My pleasure, Zap. If you want to own a piece of sports history at an affordable price, take a look at the magnificent highest resolution prints of famed artist James Fiorentino. Check out the link on the screen, and you'll be amazed at renderings of some of the greats, Clemente, Ruth, Brady, Jordan, and some of the greatest athletes to ever grace the sports landscape. The very affordable limited editions capture every shade of the original work, and yes, they are individually signed by James himself. Prices for these art gems range between $200 and $400 and will look spectacular in your office or collectibles room. Typically, a James original sells for 5 figures, but you can purchase one of his affordable reproductions now and cherish it forever. Go to jamesfiorentino.com/store and purchase your personal work of art. In our opinion, James Fiorentino is the greatest sports artist on the planet.
You know, JM, when
and we saw it personally in Philly, Zap,
man,
right?
His work is incredible.
I mean, good
Steve,
Lord.
I don't know if you've ever seen Fiorentino's work.
Yeah.
Actually, he does a lot of the covers of PSA magazine. He's just a fabulous artist.
Yeah,
really is.
The detail. Really. I mean, he captures the detail on the face of the athlete, like whether it's a Mantle at bat or a Brady or someone like that. Really amazing.
Was chatting with Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. Steve, tell us about, you've got a lot of signed baseballs.
Yeah, we have some neat signed baseballs. We have there's a Joe Page, which is a very rare single signed ball. We have there's a Casey Stengel. We have a Gil Hodges. So there's a whole bunch of different Hall of Famers. We got team balls going back to the 1930s. There's a very affordable, albeit very low grade, Roberto Clemente single signed ball. There's a bunch of cool signed bats too. We have one of the really cool ones is like an 87 or 88 Yankee bat, which isn't anything extraordinary, except it's got a huge Mickey Mantle autograph and a huge Billy Martin autograph. Then
Really?
Yes, we have some really cool signed bats, and we have these Hall of Fame induction bats from the 90s, and you just don't see those. And they stopped doing those in any level. And these went to the players, and there's like 40 or 50 autographs on these things. And anyone who collecting autographs nowadays knows that you go to a show, $75 to $125 an autograph for anyone even decent. So these things are a fortune what they cost to replicate. The modern Hall of Famers, everything is so expensive. And then in terms of baseballs, I'd be remiss. We have a really, really rare baseball. We have an Ed Walsh single signed ball.
Wow. Wow.
All era pitcher, all-time great pitcher. He died in 1959, and there may only be 10 or 15 of these known, and it has a nice signature. So that's one of the key autograph lots. There's a Satchel Paige signed baseball too. Anything Satchel Paige has been wonderful lately. And then one other really cool autograph item we have is a Gil Hodges signed rookie card. We got really lucky with this. We happened to have gotten it right before he went in the Hall of Fame. And that's really nice too. It's the Brooklyn Dodger team issue card, and it's vintage signed. So there's a lot of cool autographs. My favorite autograph item, there's something actually signed by George Wright, a composite photo from the 1920s, which is something you just never see.
Steve, a couple things on what you just said, playing off your answer there. What's the popularity / value split between individually signed, let's take baseballs, and team signed baseballs, or bats for that matter? Back in the day when I first started collecting, it was, you want to get the individual signed ball, not a team signed ball. What's that like now in terms of what you've seen in terms of investors and buyers?
Well, it hasn't changed. I mean, it is kind of crazy. Like, you tell lay people, like, it'd be better if only Mickey Mantle signed the ball, not Yogi Berra and Bill Skowron or something. So the people who want single signed balls, they're laser focused. They want the single signed ball, and they want to get every Hall of Famer they can on a single signed ball. And a lot of the time, they don't even collect team balls. And then there's people that only collect team balls. Team balls are their own subcategory. Like everything else, if you get a vintage team ball from the 60s and back, in really nice condition where the ball's real white and clean, they could sell for big money. Even a lesser team can get $500 or $1,000 a ball if the quality is really there. But they really are hard to find like that. They're truly scarce.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where it comes down to maybe the emotional part of it too. If you were a big fan of the '75 Red Sox or the 1960 Pirates, one of those standout teams like that, it's worth more to you, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's worth as much as it means to you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the question is, just getting back to your question. So you take the 75 Red Sox. So if you get 25 or 30 different single sign balls, they're worth a lot more than a team ball. But then you have 30 balls. And then there's no one that, there's a few tougher. I guess Darren Johnson, unless he's on the 76 Red Sox, I don't remember. That's the toughest one. Otherwise, there's nothing that scarce in there. Other teams will have, and it'll drive people crazy. Like in the 69 Mets, a lot of people collect them, of course. So this guy named Danny Frisella died in a motorcycle.
Danny Frisella, sure, yeah.
So that's like $1,000 baseball. Cal Kuntz died in 1993, and that can be a $500 to $1,000 baseball.
Yeah.
Calvin Kuntz, didn't he play for the Sox for a while, JM?
That's way before my time, but that's right in your wheelhouse, age-wise.
Yeah, so. I think he was up for a cup of coffee with the Calvin Kuntz with the Red Sox for a while. Hey, I think he was. Hey, Steve, let's switch gears a little bit. You've got some really cool historic pieces of memorabilia, especially autographs. Can you talk about some of those?
Yeah, I love the presidential stuff. That stuff is so much fun. So we have autographs of 8 or 10 different presidents going back to the 19th century. Let me just pull up what we have here. So we have a Henry Clay autograph. We have Calvin Coolidge. It's not the most exciting stuff. But
what's worth more, the Calvin Coolidge or the Calvin Kuntz?
I hate to say this, it's probably the Calvin Kuntz. There's a grant document.
Let's get our Calvins in order here. What are we doing? I'll give you a Calvin Schiraldi for both of them.
It is kind of crazy how that stuff works. And we have a real nice Jane Mansfield signed 8x10. Like, we like the old Hollywood autographs too. That stuff's a lot of fun for us. So that's a business we're always looking at. And I think that stuff's undervalued.
Well, you're one of the few, I think, that does that consistently. And you always have some really cool stuff. I meant to ask you this. A while back, you had an autograph of Mother Teresa. Did that thing sell? I mean, did you ever?
Yeah, we've had that a couple of times. And one time it got $1,000. I mean,
Did you really?
Yeah,
was it her rookie card? Was it the first year out of the convent, or was it? Because that makes it different.
I mean, but something like that, from a collector's standpoint, JM, think about it. Very, very cool collectible.
Absolutely.
I think so. I've been keeping, like last year, I got a Charles Darwin autograph and I just kept it. I was like, I can't sell this. This is just too awesome. This exists. I mean, some of this stuff is just, I think that stuff is great. And I've seen over the years, I've been doing this for a while, a lot of my sports customers will buy that stuff to complement a collection. They love the idea of getting a Washington or a Lincoln autograph or a Grant or Teddy Roosevelt. They love having stuff like that in their collection and the great entertainers too.
I want to ask a question both of you guys can chime in on because we're seeing it now with the Hall of Fame votes. Gil Hodges got in the Hall of Fame. David Ortiz just got in the Hall of Fame. A couple other guys got in with the committee before Jim Cott got in. Whether it's with these guys or generally speaking, is there a palpable spike in value? Always wait till he gets in like I'm sitting on my Clemens and Bonds cards from the 80s, right? Waiting for them
for a while.
I'm going to be sitting on those forever. But is there a palpable spike in the industry when that happens? Are David Ortiz cards going to see a visible spike now in popularity or value?
Well, there is if it's unexpected. I don't think there'll be any difference in David Ortiz because everything is priced in with him, and he's a very popular player around the country. He's got a big national following. He's very desirable always. But like when Jim Cott and Minnie Minoso got in the Hall of Fame, stuff went absolutely crazy on eBay and our online store, and it's kind of frustrating sometimes. We're never fast enough, and people pick things off like rabbits.
Yeah,
stuff goes like wildfire, and these things can increase in value by 5 and 10 times.
So that's my answer. So the answer is yes. Then it does make a difference. Yeah,
if it's expected that someone gets in the Hall of Fame,
sure,
it's not a big deal. But when these guys get in, these things can go absolutely crazy. Years ago, I got lucky. I was always waiting on Joe Gordon to get in the Hall of Fame, and I had a really nice single sign ball, and it went from 500 to 5,000 after he got in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
I kept it. I always liked him, and so it can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But you just don't know until they vote on it. I'm a very conservative with the Hall of Fame thing. I mean, I'm going to get in trouble here, but I think they're diluting their brand. I think there's guys getting in the Hall of Fame that they're fine players. I like them. They're not Hall of Famers. I don't know what it means anymore. There's so many people are getting in, and you get the feeling all the guys you mentioned. I'm not going to get into what's right or wrong. The bottom line is when their friends around the committee letting them in, you're going to get another 20 or 30 good players that really shouldn't be Hall of Famers.
Yeah, you are.
It's supposed to really mean something, and it's becoming meaningless. And as a fan, and and that's not just a business for me. It bothers me. Like you'll hear, I don't want to belittle certain players and single them out, but there's many players in the last 8 or 9 years that they just should not be Hall of Famers.
Something, Steve, you're making a good point. The question is, do you blame the players or do you blame the writers or the people that are voting? Because listen, JM, you may or may not disagree with me on this one, but Dan Shaughnessy, what he did, I think, was a crime. JM, he voted for. This is a renowned Boston sports writer.
Yeah,
that voted for Craig Biggio and no one else.
Jeff Kent.
I mean, Jeff Kent. I'm sorry.
Jeff Kent, yeah.
Jeff Kent and nobody else. I mean, what is the rationale
Well,
behind
listen,
that?
I want to, again, this could be an hour show on this. I wrote 20 years ago that the writers shouldn't vote. And I say that as a writer, by the way. I'm sorry, but you hold grudges against people, okay? And you have this weird vote. The other thing is, how come you voted for one guy last year, now you don't vote for him this year? Did his stats change when he's been out of the league for 5 years? You know what I mean? It's becoming a mess with the writers.
I mean, listen to me. Kurt Schilling could have won 400 games, and Dan Shaughnessy still would not have voted.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I'm not going to rain on Dan's parade. He's got a right. He earned the vote. He's got a right to do what he wants. And if it's I'm going to vote all or nothing on the steroid guys, more power to him. But you've done something now. You let Ortiz in, and he did have a positive test. So now what do you do? Now the whole thing is all or none or what? So I've been against the writers voting. To me, Hall of Famers should vote for Hall of Famers. That's it. The players should vote for the Hall of Fame and not the media. Sports media has changed too much over the last 30 years. It used to be, not that they built the players up, but they were reporting. Now it's how can I get the dirt on someone and make a name for myself and end up on MLB Network.
I agree. Steve, what is your take on that?
The only thing is, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with anything you've said, but every solution has its issues. When the problem with the players voting, like the 1921 and 22 Giants, all those guys were on the Hall of Fame committee, and they have like 10 Hall of Famers, more than the 27 Yankees.
Yeah,
so
right.
The players with their friends, and also, I don't know if you know this, I was involved in a book a few years ago in the Hall of Fame. Guys are hiring lobbyists to get in the Hall of Fame.
Unbelievable.
It's like the Oscars. Yeah, they're right. They're doing publicity. Right. You're right. Yeah.
No, it's more than that. Apparently, you get a low six-figure income a year once you become a Hall of Famer. So these guys, they're going to let their friends in over the course of a year. It could be millions of dollars in a lifetime. Yeah. They're going to get his revenue. And all that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But they're just diluting. There should be some kind of objective standard below which you can't be a Hall of Famer. Because, the writers are flawed. They're people. And the players, of course, they're going to let their friends in and their buddies. And they're going to hold grudges just like the writers do. They're people. So I don't know.
You're making a good point.
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer is, but like whatever's going on now isn't working because this brand isn't going to mean anything.
And the other thing you can't do is, because we used to say have statistical baselines, but you really can't do that anymore because the game has changed. I mean, you can't have 300 wins anymore. There may never be a pitcher that wins 300 games again because of the quick hook and relief pitching being the way it is now, right? I mean, it's
good
so you can't do that either. And you certainly can't do the home run thing. I mean, when I think of steroids and whether you like it or not, I think of the guys. I was thinking to myself today before we did the show, what if Jim Rice did steroids? How many homers would he have had? What if Ken Griffey Jr. did steroids? How quickly could he have come back from all those injuries, right? That's the kind of stuff that bothers me with the steroids. To me, if there was no rule at the time and you did it, if there's no rule, you didn't break it. But it's a slippery slope, man. It is. And again, we could do an hour on this,
Steve, so. I want to dip my toe into another. We've talked about it before. I'd like to get your take on what is called manufactured scarcity on these cards, these modern and ultra modern cards. That it's one of one that's being manufactured. Isn't that does that hurt the vintage market or does it help the vintage market?
I mean, honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with it. Personally, I don't like this stuff. I think it's absurd, but there's so much money in it. So many people are chasing it. So many people are collecting it. And you can, on the flip side of it, like, my son's 13. And so we'll get a Jacob deGrom card and he sees, 1 of 30 or 1 of 20. And they get so excited about it as opposed to something being mass produced. So they want to feel as a collector of contemporary players, well, I don't want to have something everyone else has. I want something cooler than that.
Right.
So my thing says 1 of 10. Ooh, wow. Or my thing says 2 out of 10. And it's its own subculture. And it's a huge amount of money going on in this stuff. And, you almost can't get your head around it. But there's people that grew up with this and they want numbered things. They want to understand it. But as a purist, as a collector, because I'm not just
I can't wrap my arms around it. I just can't. And a lot of the guys, people watching this show are involved with it. A lot of them, I get a lot of emails like that they disagree with me, which is fine. But I think they're creating something out of nothing. That's just the way I look at it.
Oh, that's exactly right. That's exactly what they're doing. But people are okay with that, and they've been doing it for, I don't know, I guess around 20 years. And these things trade like crazy and people go crazy over this 1 of 1 thing and 1 of 5 and 1 of whatever. And they're, totally arbitrary. And there's a deal where you can't really price it because, we don't just auction things, we sell them too. And, what's this 1 worth? What's this 1 worth? And the value range can be dramatic based on who's looking for the thing at a time. So I think it's silly, but it has its own. There's a lot of people that collect it and you can understand their point too, I guess.
Absolutely. We've got about 3 minutes left, Steve. Again, what time does the auction end? How long? When can people get their final bids in? Tell us about that.
Okay, so with our auction is different than maybe some other auctions. If you want to bid in the auction, you have to have your bid in by 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight. We end the entire auction at the same time. So at 11 o'clock Eastern time tonight, we go to the 10-minute rule. So the entire auction ends at the same time. If anyone bids on any lot, the whole auction extends. So you have to keep that in mind with our auction. And it'll go for a few hours after 11 o'clock. So you want to be sure to read the auction rules to understand it. But otherwise it's very straightforward. Now in our auction, sadly, unlike many other auctions, you will not be bidding against the consignor. You will not have a hidden reserve. The item is going to sell for what it sells for. It's a pure auction. So the prices are, there'll be deals, there'll be things that get absolutely stupid prices. There's going to be good deals. There'll be some bargains. there's 1,000 lots. There's going to be a big variety of prices in an auction with that much stuff in it.
Again, the thing for the budget-minded collector, there is literally something here for everyone.
No question. Yeah.
Everyone. There is no doubt. I mean, again, Steve, I've been following you and Clean Sweeps for years. This has to be one of your biggest auctions ever.
Oh yeah, definitely. Business has been incredible lately. I mean, every year the sales numbers blow past the prior year. So this is one of the, this could be the, like second best, highest grossing auction we've ever had.
Good for you. Steve Verkman, thanks for coming. We love having you on because you're not afraid to talk about some of the other subjects, and we really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys. My pleasure.
Thanks, Steve.
Take care. Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. I think Scott Russell's going to join us for a few minutes, and we'll be right back.
Is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on the tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden Auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auction and Collectibles Company. If you're looking to maximize your return on your sports cards and collectibles, look no further. We at Memory Lane Auction House offer you several options to achieve top dollar for your collectibles. Whether you're looking to auction or sell privately, we're the #1 choice with over 17 years in the hobby. Nobody will work harder to achieve your goals. Just call us today at 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE. Or visit us on the web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Go with the best. Go with Memory Lane.
Sarah found out camping
What was that?
wasn't her thing. So she eBay forwarded her tent to Tom, who just had to get out of his house. But Tom needed road trip money, so he eBayed the crock pot he never used to Steve, who wanted to turn the heat up on date night. But Steve needed counter space, so he sold his decanter.
Thought it was a vase.
To Sarah, who'd found a new outdoor hobby.
Hints of red.
eBay. Sell something and make room for something new.
And in fact, eBay is the place to go for all of your memorabilia, sports or non-sports cards, autographs, and much more. Whether it's a gift for that special someone or you just want to add to your collection, eBay's huge marketplace should be your first stop. And if you sell, now's the time to flip those cards and get some extra cash. I shop on eBay all the time. That's eBay, connecting buyers and sellers globally.
Okay, before we chat with Scott, a little business here. Our giveaway from the ugly Joe Marino cheap bag. This is a cool giveaway. Listen
something
to this
else.
one, JM. How about this? Harry Hooper, An American Baseball Life.
There you go.
By Paul Zing. This is a great book.
Yeah, good book.
Harry Hooper, Red Sox player. This is our giveaway today.
Interesting guy, interesting character.
Very, very interesting. I am going to pick out of the bag right now. This week's winner is Brian Daniels. Not related to Jeff Daniels, Daniel Boone, or anybody else. Brian Daniels, congratulations. Here's what you got to do.
Stormy Daniels.
You got to PM me. You have to text me. Do what you have. Email me. It's all out there. If I don't hear from you in a week, you're out. All right, one other thing before we bring in Scotty.
Yep.
East Coast Sports Marketing and Hunt Auctions are pleased to present the Philadelphia Sports Collectors Show, the Philly Show, from Friday, March 4th to Sunday, March 6th at the Valley Forge Casino Resort in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Shop over 200 of your favorite hobby dealer booths and over 55,000 square feet of sports collectibles heaven from the 1800s to present day. Major sports auction houses and third-party grading and authentication companies are on hand to assist your collecting needs. The Philly Show is family-friendly, JM. All kids 12 and under get in for free. So, John, you get in for nothing. Autograph guests
if they go by height, yeah.
Autograph guests to include basketball legends Julius, Dr. J. Irving, Philadelphia baseball legend Mike Schmidt, Pete Rose, and Steve Carlton, Baseball Hall of Famer, the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith, and Philly Eagles all-time leading rusher LaShawn McCoy, as well as Super Bowl 52 fan favorite Brandon Graham, and many more. For more information, go to thephillyshow.com. Remember, since 1975, the Philly Show is where it all started. And speaking of the Philly Show, this gentleman is there all the time.
even when there's no show, he's just hanging out at the casino.
He hangs out at the casino.
There's a casino.
Right. Hey, I won Zap. I won $172 back in September when we were there.
You never told me that.
I did. I'm up 172.
So wait a second. I paid for dinner that night.
Yes, you did.
The hell was that all
so
about?
Technically, I'm up more than 172.
He's actually up.
Scott Russell from the Collector Connection. Scott, we asked you to come on. You've got an auction coming up, man. Let's run with it. Tell us what you have.
It's a lot of new territory for us. We have some game used stuff for the first time. We have a pair of Goose Gossage's cleats from his 1 year with the Pirates. We've got a Ken Griffey Senior game used bat, all authenticated by our friend John from JT Sports and PSA.
Great guy.
A lot of Pirates stuff. The Griffey bat was actually an exception, but likely because Griffey has Pittsburgh ties where he lived. So that's kind of neat. Then there's a lot of oddball sets, a lot of unusual things you don't see. 1971 House of Jazz baseball set.
Wow.
It was a baseball set in a records company, a record store in, I think it was Lansdale. It's near Philly in Pennsylvania. A little tiny fly spec, like five guys know about it kind of set, super rare. But the big deal in this auction is the autographs.
Yeah, Scott, you have a ton of team signed balls in there.
I couldn't believe that either.
Yeah, team signed balls. The biggie being the 61 Yankees that's double-thirted by CAS and PSA.
Yeah.
But we also a 70 Pirates ball
Right.
with an inscription on it that says it's from opening day of Three Rivers.
Oh,
and
cool.
It was consigned by the original collector.
Yeah.
So that's, of course, Clemente.
Scott, did all these balls, these signed balls, come from the same consigner, or it's all
Different sources? It's odd how things run with us. It seems like we get we don't see anything for a long.
Did we lose Scott?
Probably video. Yeah, Zap. I tell you, there's a lot of see this stuff that's in my wheelhouse in this auction, Zap. A lot of guys, Tony Gwynn, Ricky Henderson, Tom Glavine, Dwight Gooden, like that era. That kind of.
And all of a sudden, it all hits us at once.
He's back. Good.
Yeah, we'll edit. Go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
I'm at a hotel, guys, and the connection's not as good as it is at the office.
That's okay.
We got you. We hear you. We hear you now.
It's called the wonder of editing. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Zab, he's having a little bit of a technical difficulty here, but people should really check out this auction, Collector Connection. You talk about something for everyone. You've got the big names, as Berra is in there, Musial, but there's a lot to go around here.
Oh, absolutely. We'll never, I promise you guys every time I talk to you, we'll never get away from having those lots that collectors need to complete their sets.
Please remember to go to thecollectorconnection.com for their current auction, which ends on February 6th.
I know in the auction you have some World Series programs. I've seen a rise in things like this with collectibles. Are you seeing the same thing? And talk about what you have.
Head to thecollectorconnection.com for their current auction, which ends February 6th.
Okay. James, it looks like we lost Scotty Boy. He's in one of those flea bag hotels. That's his problem. He's in one of those like $89 a night hotels.
Hey man,
that's
listen. I'm insulted. A flea bag hotel. I'm in on those all the time.
That's okay. But anyways, why don't you finish up about the
No, we were talking about all the different things in this auction, and obviously the collectorconnection.com is where you want to go. I believe the auction ends on February the 6th, but we talked a little about some of the team signed balls app, and he's got some excellent Jackie Robinson items in this auction. You and I both know, just in doing the show the last year, Jackie Robinson items, I think, are going up, up, up. They're just starting to, him and Hank Aaron, Clemente, I think people are starting to jump on board with those Hall of Famers, of course, and they're getting up there, maybe not to the Ruth and Gehrig level, but they're getting up there. He's got some World Series programs, which we tried to talk about before the technical difficulties, but it's a great mix, like we talked about before. He's got some Joe DiMaggio stuff, Hank Aaron, Mays, two guys that I think are kind of overlooked in the hobby a little bit. He's got 48 Bowman cards of Yogi Berra and Stan Musial. So, I mean, it's just an excellent auction.
Very cool.
What I like is, there's names in there, what I call these tweeners. They're not the modern like Mike Trout, and they're certainly not vintage, but Nolan Ryan, Wade Boggs, Roberto Alomar, Steve Carlton, Gary Carter. There's some Hall of Famers in there, and he's got some really good items on them. Tom Glavine, same thing. Ricky Henderson, Tony Gwynn.
Very good.
It's a really good mishmash, if you will, of items.
And what is the website address again?
We talked to Scott Russell, thecollectorconnection.com.
All right,
so
listen,
check it out.
Before we end, I want to talk about one other friend of ours, Lee Behrens and Sterling Sports Auctions. We talk a lot about auction houses that are affordable for the budget-minded collector. Sterling Sports Auction, owned by Lee Behrens, is a small business that makes collecting very fun and very affordable. The current auction is online right now, ends on February 10th, so get your bids in. From pre-war mid to high grade cards to graded and ungraded cards from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. There is something for everyone. Love Lee. Lee is very, very similar to Scott. Same size operation. The key here is that you can build your own personal collection without breaking the bank. Low grade, mid grade, and high grade cards, Lee has them all to go to. So go to sterlingsportsauctions.com to either register or get your bid in. That's Sterling Sports Auctions. He's got 1927 Babe Ruth exhibits, 1940 play ball Joe Jacksons. He's got a 1954 Johnson Cookies Henry Aaron rookie PSA 8, 1955 Topps Sandy Koufax PSA 6, and much, much, much more. Remember, Sterling Sports Auction, the small auction site with big results. Well, we got through that. Sorry about the technical.
We'll try to get Scott on again sometime.
Yeah, we'll
with a
get him
better
on.
connection.
Something. It's David's. He's a whiz. He's a whiz. I tell you. With that being said, JM.
Like Cheese Whiz or what?
Exactly. It is Friday. I'm in Florida. You're in Massachusetts. The show airs Wednesday. So in advance, I'm telling you, I hope the storm 4 days ago wasn't too big.
We will have cleaned out by the time we're doing this show. We're hardy up here. You know, we're not like those guys that go down to Florida for 3 months, and we hang in up here. We hang tough up here.
Ellen and I are off to Orlando right now, right after the show.
I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home, drink beer, and listen to Tony Orlando. So,
with that being said, we love you guys. Thanks for all your support, and remember, happy collecting.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.